Welcome back to Radio 1 International. Today we're diving into a story that goes beyond music. It's about courage, vulnerability, and what it means to step out of the shadows. Kevin Jonas, often seen as the steady hand and quiet strength of the Jonas Brothers, took a leap that left fans emotional and inspired. His solo performance in Boston became not just a highlight of the tour, but a defining moment in his career, and we're here to explore exactly why it mattered so much. Kevin Jonas has long been known as the steady presence in the Jonas Brothers, a figure who may not always grab the spotlight in the way his younger brothers Nick and Joe often do, but who is nonetheless integral to the band's identity. For years, fans have affectionately referred to him as the backbone of the group, the guitarist who anchors their performances, the older brother who holds things together, and the personality that adds balance to their sometimes chaotic dynamic. Yet for much of their career, Kevin has remained somewhat in the shadows, letting Nick and Joe take on the bulk of the lead vocals while he provided the rich, steady guitar sound that has become synonymous with the Jonas Brothers' music. That is why when Kevin recently stepped onto the stage in Boston for a solo moment, singing lead with no brothers by his side, the performance resonated on an emotional level that went far beyond just another concert highlight. It felt like a long-awaited affirmation of his own musical identity, a moment that both fans and Kevin himself seemed to recognize as significant. The Boston show was part of the Jonas Brothers' ongoing tour, one that has been filled with nostalgia, celebration, and a renewed sense of connection between the brothers and their audience. Fans attending the tour expected the classics, the familiar harmonies, and the playful energy that has always defined the band. But what they may not have expected was for Kevin to take center stage, microphone in hand, visibly nervous, yet determined to give the crowd something different. When Kevin admitted to the audience that he was super nervous about singing solo, the vulnerability of that confession only endeared him to the fans even more. In that moment, the curtain pulled back on the man who has so often stayed in the background, revealing not just a performer but a person stepping outside of his comfort zone, willing to take a leap and claim a spotlight that had so rarely been his. What made the performance so moving was not just the act of Kevin singing solo, but the way it encapsulated years of quiet dedication. For as long as the Jonas Brothers have existed as a band, Kevin has been there, holding down the guitar parts, harmonizing when needed, and providing the familial grounding for two younger brothers whose careers also extended into acting, solo projects, and more overt pursuits of fame. While Nick and Joe became household names in their own right, Kevin often found himself typecast as the responsible one or the quiet one. Fans loved him for it, of course, but there was always a sense that his contributions weren't celebrated in the same way. The Boston solo performance shifted that narrative, even if just for a few minutes. It was as though Kevin was saying, "I belong here too. I have a voice and I want to share it." The fans' reaction reflected exactly that sentiment. Reports from the night describe how the audience erupted in cheers, not just politely clapping but truly celebrating him, giving Kevin the kind of roaring approval usually reserved for Nick's falsettos or Joe's charismatic stage banter. People could feel that Kevin was nervous, but rather than letting that dampen the performance, it created a bond between him and the crowd. Every note, every lyric carried with it the weight of vulnerability, and the audience responded by lifting him up, meeting his uncertainty with encouragement. In a way, the Boston crowd became part of the performance itself, reminding Kevin that he had always been loved, even if the spotlight had not always been his. For the fans in Boston, and for those who watched clips of the performance later, Kevin's solo was more than just a nice surprise. It was an emotional experience, the kind that stays with you long after the show ends. In the flurry of comments and reactions online, fans celebrated his courage, praised his voice, and expressed gratitude for the chance to see a different side of him. Some even described it as one of the highlights of the tour, precisely because it was so unexpected and heartfelt. These reactions underscored how powerful it can be when an artist steps outside of what is expected and chooses vulnerability over predictability. The significance of this performance may also ripple into the future of the Jonas Brothers. It opens the door for more moments like this, where Kevin's voice might be featured more prominently, where he might feel empowered to contribute not just musically, but vocally in ways fans haven't seen before. It also sets an example for other artists who may feel boxed into certain roles within their groups or collaborations, that it's never too late to step out and try something new, even if it scares you. Kevin's nervousness did not diminish his performance. It enhanced it, turning what could have been just another song into a story of courage and growth. In reflecting on the Boston performance, it becomes clear that the night was about more than a single song. It was about Kevin Jonas reclaiming his place in the narrative of his own career, showing fans and perhaps even himself that he has more to offer than he has been given credit for. It was about embracing fear and turning it into art, about leaning into vulnerability rather than hiding from it. And it was about the unique bond between an artist and their audience, the way a crowd support can transform nerves into triumph. As the tour continues and the Jonas Brothers move on to new cities, fans will no doubt be wondering whether Kevin will choose to step into the spotlight again in the same way. Whether he does or not, the memory of that Boston performance will remain, a milestone in his journey, and a reminder of what can happen when you take a chance. It wasn't just Kevin stealing hearts in that moment, it was Kevin allowing himself to be fully seen, and in doing so, reminding us all of the power of vulnerability, the courage it takes to step forward, and the beauty of being embraced for exactly who you are. Thank you for tuning in to Radio 1 International. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Kevin Jonas's heartfelt moment, stay with us for more stories that bring music, culture, and people closer together. Don't forget to share your thoughts and join the conversation, because your voice, just like Kevin's, deserves to be heard.
94.3 One World, your station.